Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us for the Ohio AgNet podcast. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg, field leader with Ohio's Country Journal and the Ohio AgNet. And joining me once again, our great host, Matt Reese. Matt, the editor of Ohio's Country Journal, and a special guest that we have today. We're going to say maybe a social media star, at least in our world. That is Zoe Kent. She is an 8th generation farmer from right here in the state of Ohio. Also, probably the only thing that she and Matt and I have in common, we all graduated from Ohio State. She's probably far more notable than we are. But Zoe,
Indeed,
thanks for joining us. Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit, I guess, about yourself and for all the listeners. Now, a lot of folks probably know you from Instagram and Zoe Farms with what I see, over 105, 106,000 followers. So obviously you've got more followers than Matt and I combined.
Yep, it is Farm with Zoe, and
Okay.
it is just Zoe. People love to throw a Y on the end, understandably, but just Zoe.
So tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, a young female in agriculture and doing very well as far as telling the story of the industry. I think when I first sort of came across some of your posts, I was most intrigued that you really don't glamorize things. You just sort of tell it like it is and like you see it. And I think that's commendable.
Yep. And so, yeah, a little bit about our farm. We just do corn and beans at the moment. Sometimes there are cattle on pasture that you'll see. I'm entering my 2nd year of full ownership, if you will. So that's exciting. My dad is retired, yet he is at work every single day.
Yeah, they do. Farmers tend to do that. They don't actually retire. They just sort of retire and then continue doing their thing, right?
Yep. And somehow, him being my landlord, because I rent all of my ground from him, he still has some control there.
Very good. I'll bet. Very good. That's a wise bit of wisdom there that you just shared for folks to keep in mind, keep the landlords happy. So, well, tell us a little bit about how you got into agriculture. Obviously, you grew up on a farm if your dad is a retired farmer, but what did you study in college and what brought you back to the farm?
Yep. So I studied ag business in college, but I knew from like a very young age that I wanted to farm. I grew up mowing the yard and then clipping wheat stubble, just because I was a little entrepreneur and I wanted to make money as a kid. But I really enjoyed farming. So, yep, that's what I always knew I wanted to do.
What was your favorite farm job as a kid?
Oh, just mowing the yard. I still just love mowing the yard.
Really?
It's easy. It's simple. I can just listen to podcasts all day and I don't have to worry about, all the sensors going off. And
I'm sure it's a steady stream of the Ohio AgNet podcast constantly when you're mowing, right?
Oh yeah.
I figured that was probably the case.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the farm, if you will. Maybe some of the production practices you have, cover crops, no-till, what styles of that, all the different sort of nuts and bolts that farmers are interested in with different operations.
Yes. So I can keep everyone happy because we do conventional till, we do minimum till, we do no-till, we do some cover crops, and we have some farms that we absolutely won't put cover crops on. So it is a little bit of everything. We're really believers of just trying everything once at least and seeing how it works for us.
Very good. Now, also from what I've seen in some of your videos, you're not afraid of technology. Talk about some of the different technologies on your guys' farm.
Yep. So we have, auto steer, all those things. We don't have like the newest monitors, but yeah, we like the tech. I love being able to look at the monitors. I finally got the John Deere. Oh, what do we call it? It's where you can look at the other tractors as they're moving. That is very useful. And my dad loves being able to get on there. And since he's never in the tractors anymore, he likes seeing what they're doing.
Very good. Very good. How many people involved in your operation right now?
So I have one I would consider mostly full-time guy, JD. He is my mechanic. And then during spring and fall, I have a guy named George who is 85. He runs the combine. And then a few other guys here and there that help.
Everybody needs a George. Having an 85-year-old guy around to run the combine, that's pretty fantastic.
Hey, he works slow and steady.
Yeah, that's good.
Slow, but
I need a George.
Yep. Everyone needs a George.
Well, obviously, anytime you go to a farm show, things like that, all the bells and whistles are out there. Every dealership has their latest, greatest new technology. What are some of the thoughts you have maybe on some of the different things you see coming down the line? I know that you said there's some technologies you guys have implemented, some maybe you aren't there yet, but as you hear some of the new things out there, autonomous tractors, things like that, a lot of the different, sensors and things, where do you think that fits in down the road?
I think it is really exciting. However, it's not in my budget right now. I think it's amazing for the people that have that budget. Good for them. But I'll keep watching them on social media and watch them use it. But I do think the advancements are amazing and exciting.
Well, you just said something that caught my attention. So obviously, you put a lot of stuff out on social media, but as a consumer, social media, do you do much following of other people and what they're doing out there? Or thoughts on that?
Yes, yeah, I follow a lot of ag people because I would rather learn from their mistakes than my own.
That makes
And
sense.
it's exciting to see just other parts of the world and how they do things differently. I think we get really wrapped up in what's happening locally, and it's kind of nice to broaden our horizons.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So as you look at things going on, and obviously in the time from when you went to Ohio State, graduated, what you've seen changing in the industry, what are some of the biggest challenges maybe that you see in the future, both either for yourself as a young person in agriculture or just the industry in general?
I like to just focus on the positive and take it one day at the time because I can get very overwhelmed just thinking about like my own personal debt and like the things that will be coming down the line. Um, Last year was my first official year in charge. And so I told everyone, I don't have a 5-year goal. I have to just get through this year. So I guess now I'm at the point where I need to make some goals for the future.
Very good. Very good. Any thoughts maybe on some of those opportunities or what the future plans might look like as you take more of a role within the operation, taking it over completely?
Yep. Well, I think naturally everyone wants more ground. That has been on my goal list every year for about 6 years now, just waiting for that right opportunity. But as we all know, there's big corporations, people buying in. It gets tougher and tougher to find new ground.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm curious about, when you were at Ohio State, you were a cheerleader, and talk a little bit about that. And the sports teams at Ohio State definitely need cheerleaders, but agriculture needs cheerleaders too. And Dusty and I try to promote agriculture and talk about that. And you certainly have been doing that as well, not only talking to agricultural folks, but non-ag folks as well. So how did cheerleader at Ohio State transition into maybe cheerleader and spokesperson for agriculture in Ohio?
Yeah, I do like just cheering other people on in general. And I had a really nice opportunity there at Ohio State. And I think one thing that a lot of kids are guilty of in the ag program is hanging out with only the ag kids. Mm-hmm. And we kind of pride ourselves on, we're on a different, we're on our own ag campus. But doing cheerleading, I had the opportunity to talk to kids that were not farmers, that came from different backgrounds, that had different opportunities growing up. And I think it just really benefits us to get outside of our own industry sometimes. And so then, transitioning into the social media and showing our farming, I think sometimes we have our own echo chamber of talking to ourselves about things where it's like we need to try to get out and talk to the masses rather than ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so did you cheer for football, basketball? What did you do at Ohio State?
Yep. So the cheerleading team there, it's just one team that cheers for everything. I cheered volleyball games. I cheered a swim meet one time. That was really interesting. And then we have our own nationals. So that was actually this past weekend. And Ohio State got 3rd place in the nation. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I bet you're way better at flips and cartwheels and stuff than Dusty and I.
I don't know about right now. I get the stars and start to kind of get really dizzy even doing cartwheels these days.
I still bet you're way better than Dusty and I. So what do you see as the value of really getting out there and getting your message out about agriculture in Ohio? because again, like we talked, that's so important. And you talked about the echo chamber, and it's really easy for people in agriculture to just talk to other farm folks. Why is it so important to get the attention and to bend the ear of some folks maybe not in agriculture?
Yeah, I think it's just, teaching people about our industry is important because there's so much misinformation and confusion out there. And, we don't want to think about ourselves as food producers. We just think, I'm making a commodity, but really like we're making food one way or the other. And so we need to get a good message out that, the stuff that we are producing is safe for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Within the comments you get on social media, I'm sure they're all across the board, from people very supportive, people very critical, and probably just some general questions. What are some of those either comments or questions that stick out to you, maybe that have been surprising?
Yeah, I've had a handful of people ask about the organic, and that's the thing that I really do enjoy connecting with people about, just because they really don't know, and it is good to like hear from a farmer and get my perspective, I think. And you'll always have people that aren't going to agree with you on anything, and that's fine. And I think just moving forward, knowing that you're not going to meet eye to eye is fine.
So what made you decide to take the leap into not just posting a few things like everybody does on social media, but really deciding you were going to go into this with a concerted effort and regularly post things and try and promote the industry, and then, even to the point of repping some different products out there?
Yep. So I started off on TikTok. I have a friend, Justin, who is a teacher and who is on teacher TikTok. And he wanted me to get 1,000 followers so that I could go live with him and he could show people farming. And so I was like, okay, I'll get 1,000 followers. And once I did that, I kind of just kept going. And I thought, okay, I'm going to just post every day until I can't think of anything to post. And here we are. I'm still coming up with ideas.
Well, you passed 1,000 followers about 100,000 ago, so that's impressive.
Yep.
Now, so Dusty and I are old guys, so we're not necessarily always on TikTok. As hip and trendy as I try to be, I'm really not. What are some things and videos and so forth that you're getting out there on TikTok that really resonate with people?
So TikTok's a funny place. Instagram is too. It's always the videos that you don't think would perform well are the ones that like get knocked out of the park. I've had some really good ones. One I thought was really funny is I was buying an applicator, and the guy was calling my dad to give him the quote, which is totally fine because he had he has a history with my dad. My dad had been calling him, asking him questions. It was totally fine on my end. I wasn't mad about it at all. But he called my dad, and my dad had texted me and said, hey, he's on the line with an offer. And we have videos in our shop. And so I saw the text and I ran out and I sprinted to our other building so that I could talk to the guy and, make this thing happen. And so I found the footage of me like sprinting, and people went wild on that video just because I think they were thinking, oh my goodness, she was slighted or, this or that. And they made all these assumptions when I just thought it was like a funny me running to talk to the salesperson video.
Yeah, I happened to see that one. I didn't see how many thousand followers it got, but yeah, that was one that was one of the more popular ones I saw you had posted.
Dusty, we're going to have to get one of you running out to feed the cattle sometime.
That would look like slow motion, Matt. Yeah, that would be slow motion.
Any other examples? I find that fascinating. Any other examples of stuff that really resonates with people? Because as you say, that is not something you'd necessarily think of being a highly watched video. What else really, made people watch?
Yeah. And so like, there's always trending videos where people do like voiceovers, if you know what I'm talking about, or like, dancing videos, everyone's doing the same thing. It's always the ones where I'm actually just talking either to my dad or to myself that I actually find like people follow me and have like actual engagement on because I think that it feels more personal. So those videos always do better, and people love all of my dad's old tractors. And I really like those videos because I can look back on them and have fond memories.
Well, and
Talk-
that farm component's actually novel. I mean, there's 10 zillion videos of people doing the dance moves and the whatever else, but
Don't
there's
drive,
only
yeah.
there's only a handful of people out there talking about agriculture, and I think that probably has something to do with it too. It's just they're unique. You don't get to see farmers talking about farm stuff on the farm every day on TikTok, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's also not lost on me that I'm like a short blonde girl in a big tractor. I think, people think of a farmer as an old guy with bibs on. So I think that's also a reason that people's attention is kind of shifted.
Do you wear bibs sometimes just to go with the farmer look?
No, in my Carhartts, because those things are
That
warm.
works.
But
Yeah, right.
I usually dress like how I don't know. People always say, "Oh, you're farming in tennis shoes or skinny jeans," and it's like you can wear whatever you want inside a tractor. It's heated.
That's right. So talk a little bit. I'm curious within the social media world and the ag influencers, there's obviously, a couple handfuls out there that do it and do it very well. There's others that are maybe just out there for the clicks or for clickbait, but I consider you one that really goes out there and tells the story. Do you have much connection with some of the other folks that are doing that? Is there sort of a little circle or camaraderie, or is everybody sort of independent with what they're doing?
Oh, these people are very connected. I have found like just great information. Zach Johnson, Laura Farms, Ag with Emma. These people are genuine. They're nice. They respond to messages, and they're truly just trying to help everyone out, because we're all trying to show like the story of agriculture, and there's so much room for more people to join and share their own stories. So I don't feel like anyone's competing for views or followers.
That's neat. That's neat. Matt, that's probably a good transition. Speaking of all the stories out there, you've got a couple interesting stories from folks you talked about. Maybe we should stay with that Ohio State theme and athletes. We've probably got more athleticism on this podcast than you and I have ever had in our lives.
I totally agree with that. And go Bucks, by the way. So I was at the Ohio Cattlemen's Banquet, and I'll tell you, Dusty and I get to a fair amount of banquets, Zoe, and we eat a lot of banquet food and the banquet dinners, and we got to stand up and say, "I'm Matt, I'm here from Ohio's Country Journal," or "I'm Dusty, I'm here." And the Cattlemen's Banquet never disappoints because they have good food. We had filet at the Cattlemen's Banquet, and I always look forward to that one. In addition to the great food, it's just a great bunch of folks there at the Ohio Cattlemen's Association, and really highlighted some great award winners. And we also got to hear from Cade Stover. So, of course, in the last year, they changed the name, image, likeness, NIL regulations for college athletes. And Cade was able to take advantage of that and work with Ohio Cattlemen's on the development of a video, which then got picked up by ESPN. It was a pretty big deal. And we talk about cheerleaders and people talking about agriculture. Well, Cade has been provided with a real unique platform. And he's genuine. He's a farm boy that likes to play football, and it's not the other way around. He's not a football player that likes to farm. He's a farm boy, and that's where his heart is. In fact, I talked to him for an interview that'll be coming up in the podcast version of this. And one of the things he said is that he hopes to play football so that he can farm. And it's really interesting. I don't know that a lot of football players would have that outlook on things, but Cade's definitely interested in agriculture and interested in working with his family on the farm, and loves that. And that's actually part of the reason he ended up going to Ohio State, was so he could be closer to home and stay involved with the farm. So really great guy. And in case you were wondering, he's a really big guy. I walked in, I had intentions to go talk to Cade, and I thought, I hope I can find him. And I walk in, I was like, oh, there he is. He's sort of stands out above the crowd. He's a very large individual. But I was really glad I had the chance to get to talk with him. And so we've got audio with Cade Stover, star tight end at Ohio State, who's had a really great year with a disappointing end, but he also announced he's coming back. So we got some audio with Cade coming up. In addition to that, I talked with Colin Woodall, who's also a really great interview. He's the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And we covered some of the high points and maybe some of the challenges coming up in the cattle industry and some hot topics to discuss. So Colin always does a great job. And again, really enjoyed my time this weekend at the Ohio Cattlemen's Association banquet. We got that audio coming up next in the podcast.
All right. And thanks for doing that, Matt. And again, hats off to everybody at the Ohio Cattlemen's Association, not only for a great banquet, but everything they do all year round. Well, Zoe, as we sort of look at wrapping this podcast up, I'm just curious, any thoughts you would have or message you would want to share with other young women in agriculture or interested in trying to share their story like you have?
Yep. If I'm talking to women specifically, do not let the creepy old men get in your way. Block, and report. We should not let, there will be a video coming out soon with a bunch of women in ag that we're working on, because the gross comments have just been like exponential lately. And so like, I just don't want women to get deterred from posting about ag on any social media platform. I think it's a great opportunity for anyone. It's a great way to connect with other women in ag. And, you know, and not just to the women, but to everyone. I think it is important that we share our stories. And the internet is a very, very big place. There's plenty of room for everyone to share their story.
Well, there's plenty of room to share your story, and also plenty of room to be respectful. And that, I'm really glad you brought that up, Zoe, because that is an issue. And just, we need to be respectful as human beings to other human beings. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. And with that said, thank you for the work you're doing too, because you're telling an important story and you're able to reach an audience that guys like Matt and I or other people in the industry, quite frankly, aren't able to get to. You're able to cross some of those areas that maybe, like you said, the non-ag folks that you met in college and now on the internet wouldn't necessarily be tuning into an ag program like Matt and I do, but yet you can communicate a message and you do it very well and effectively, sort of bringing the real side of agriculture out, not necessarily the glamour or the glitz, but what it's really like. And I think that will go a long way in the future, especially as we have that disconnect between rural and urban and folks that see that you're a very real person trying to make it in an industry with challenges that all of us face. So with that said, Matt, thank you for your time again today. Zoe, as always, keep up the good work. You're doing a great job, and we appreciate you taking a little bit of time. I know you've got a busy day ahead, but to join us here, and for all of you folks that joined us today for listening, I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. You guys have a great day.